I was looking at this today. In 2016, you said that you and Trump had a love-hate relationship. How would you describe that relationship now?
I mean, he truths about me on Truth Social, but we don't have a relationship.
Mark Cuban just dropped a truth bomb so explosive, it sent Donald Trump into a full-blown meltdown. He exposed the cracks in Trump's so-called business empire, called out his exaggerated wealth, and questioned his leadership in a way no one else dared to. Within minutes, Trump was firing off furious rants, scrambling to defend his ego while the internet roasted him with memes. The billionaire battle is heating up, and Cuban isn't backing down. The question is, can Trump handle the truth, or is this just the beginning of his biggest humiliation yet?
What do you make of that comment?
I get mad, I get pissed off. I mean, this is our country. It's beautiful, we love it. I'm still part of the older generation, love it or leave it. And to say that we've become the garbage can is insulting to every single American.
So Mark Cuban didn't just wake up one morning and decide to start a Twitter war with Donald Trump for fun. No, this was a full-on calculated takedown, and let me tell you, he didn't hold back.
I mean, the weave is on his head and in his mouth and it's not working. You know, he's slowed down. There's no question about it.
Cuban went straight for the jugular, Trump's business record. Now, if you've been paying attention for the past few decades, you'd know that Trump loves to brand himself as a self-made billionaire, a business genius, and the guy who turned New York real estate into his personal playground. But Cuban? He wasn't buying it. In fact, he outright called out Trump's history of business failures, from his failed casinos in Atlantic City to his disastrous Trump University scam. Cuban made it clear that Trump's financial empire wasn't built on smart investments or great decision-making. It was held together by branding, lawsuits, and, well, a whole lot of borrowed money.
Having known him for 25 years, early on in the early 2000s, you can have a legitimate conversation with him. It's just now it's talking point, talking point, talking point. And I just don't see, you can see he's declined. It's just reality. Father Time is undefeated. You can't be 78 years old and not expect some decline.
Then, Cuban took it one step further and questioned Trump's actual net worth. Now, if there's one thing Trump absolutely hates, it's people doubting how rich he is. Cuban, who is an actual self-made billionaire, pointed out that Trump has spent his entire career exaggerating his wealth, using creative accounting tricks and inflated property values to make himself look richer than he actually is. Trump has always been super secretive about his real finances, and when he finally had to release his tax returns, well, let's just say they weren't exactly the financial flex he was hoping for.
Is intellectual about anything. You don't ever think of Donald Trump and think, wow, that was really an in-depth conversation he had with somebody. You don't think of Donald Trump and say, that was really nuanced in what he had to say about this position or his policy. You don't hear him talk in depth about policies at all. And so you can get by with just sound bites. You can get by with being loud and boisterous and salesy. And to some people, that comes across as being the right thing to do.
But Cuban didn't stop at business. Oh no, he also went after Trump's leadership style, or rather the lack of it. Cuban hinted that Trump wasn't really about policy or actual governance. He was about the show. It was all about the headlines, the rallies, and the sound bites. According to Cuban, Trump wasn't interested in actually running the country. He just wanted to look like he was in charge, and honestly, that kind of stings because, well, it's hard to argue against it.
If I build this wall or fence or anything the Democrats need to call it, because I'm not into names, I'm into production. I'm into something that works.
The man has skin thinner than a soggy paper towel, and when someone like Mark Cuban comes at him with actual facts, oh, you know a meltdown is coming. So what did Trump do? He did what he always does. He ran straight to Truth Social, his personal echo chamber, and started firing off rants like a toddler who just got told no at the candy store. His first move? Calling Cuban overrated and accusing him of just trying to get attention. Classic Trump move. When someone criticizes him, he doesn't argue with facts. He just calls them names and tries to downplay their importance.
Almost cartoonishly outsized interest in posing with big maps that say Gulf of America on them. And although the White House then picked a fight with the Associated Press,
then because Trump always has to bring up TV ratings, as if running a country is the same as running a reality show, He started comparing The Apprentice to whatever Cuban has done on television. That's right. While Cuban was talking about actual leadership and business credibility, Trump was out here bragging about how many people used to watch him fire celebrities. If you needed any more proof that Trump still thinks of himself as a reality TV star first and a politician second, this was it. And then came the all-caps rant. You know it's serious when Trump goes full caps lock mode. He was throwing out insults, making wild claims, and probably misspelling at least a couple of words in the process. It was the kind of social media meltdown we've seen 100 times before, but it never stops being, well, something. Of course, the internet went wild. Within minutes, Cuban's name was trending, memes were popping up left and right, and people were roasting Trump's reaction as much as Cuban had roasted him in the first place. The best part, Cuban wasn't even engaging at this point. He had already said his piece, and now he was just sitting back, watching Trump flail. It was like watching someone throw punches in the air after their opponent had already walked away. You might be thinking, okay, this is entertaining and all, but why does it actually matter? Good question. Because as much as this looks like just another billionaire Twitter fight, there are actually big implications here.
He is not a business person. He is an investor. He's had some great success on some things, other failures, but he is not a good business person. There's no situation that you can present that says he is.
First off, business credibility. Trump has always sold himself as a business genius. The guy who knows how to make deals, the self-made billionaire, the man who's going to fix America the way he fixed his businesses, even though, well, a lot of them went bankrupt. But Cuban just ripped that image to shreds. And coming from another billionaire who actually built his fortune from scratch? That hits differently. Trump loves to dismiss criticism from politicians or the media, but when someone from the business world is calling him out, that's a problem. Then there's the leadership concern. Let's be real. If Trump can't handle a billionaire calling him out on Twitter without going nuclear, what does that say about his ability to handle real-world crises? Cuban didn't even go that hard, and Trump was out here acting like his entire empire was under attack. If this is how he reacts to social media criticism, how is he going to handle actual diplomacy, economic challenges, or, running the country? A president is supposed to be calm under pressure, but Trump just proved, again, that he is anything but.
Trump's plan is tariffs, which,
Don't work.
he likens to, or Harris likens to a Trump sales tax.
Right.
And drill, baby, drill is what he told me at the town
Isn't
hall.
going to work.
Well, also the U.S. is producing more oil right now than we ever have.
And finally, the political impact. Could Cuban's words actually sway voters? It's possible. A lot of people who supported Trump did so because they saw him as a successful businessman who could bring that knowledge to the White House. But if Cuban's critique makes people question that belief, it could be a big deal. Voters might start looking a little closer at Trump's actual track record instead of just buying into the branding. At the end of the day, this feud isn't just about two billionaires throwing shade at each other. It's a perfect example of why Trump's entire persona is built on shaky ground. And the more he reacts like this, the more people will start to see it. If there's one thing the internet loves, it's a good old-fashioned billionaire smackdown. And let me tell you, when Mark Cuban roasted Trump, Twitter, or should I say X, lost its mind. It was like watching a WWE fight, but with fewer muscles and more billion-dollar egos. People immediately started comparing Cuban's takedown to a full-on SmackDown event. Memes popped up left and right, with Cuban delivering the metaphorical finishing move, while Trump flailed around trying to recover. One of the most viral memes showed Trump as a WWE wrestler getting slammed to the mat, while Cuban stood victorious with a mic drop. Another had Cuban sitting back with a smug grin while Trump was depicted furiously typing out tweets in all caps. And speaking of those tweets, they became their own joke. People were screenshotting Trump's rant and turning them into dramatic readings, complete with over-the-top narration. Someone even remixed one of his tweets into a song, setting his furious rant to the beat of a Hamilton musical track. The internet truly has no chill. Celebrities weren't about to miss out on the fun either. Hollywood actors, comedians, and even some politicians jumped in. Seth Meyers and Stephen Colbert both did monologues roasting Trump's reaction, calling it the meltdown of the year. Meanwhile, sports stars who admire Cuban, because, he actually runs a successful NBA team, were quick to back him up. One NBA player even tweeted, "Mark Cuban got Trump on the ropes like a Mayweather fight." But of course, not everyone was laughing. Trump's diehard supporters rushed to his defense, flooding social media with their own takes. They called Cuban a failed businessman, which is ironic considering Cuban is worth billions, and accused him of trying to stay relevant. But let's be real, Cuban doesn't need social media drama to stay relevant. He's one of the biggest names in business, sports, and investing. So now that Cuban has completely roasted Trump and the internet has had its fun, the big question is, what happens next? Because let's be honest, neither of these guys is the type to just let something go.
Else, if you never
Not
do
having
something,
details, I should
yeah,
say.
it's like anything else. If you never do something, you're not expected to do it. If you hear policy and you hear analysis and you have somebody who's pragmatic and open-minded like Kamala Harris, then you expect more and you expect different things. We all have friends who aren't going to talk in depth about anything. Donald Trump's one of those people.
Will he continue his meltdown? Well, history tells us yes. If there's one thing we know about Trump, it's that he cannot stand being called out. He might act like he's unfazed, but the second someone questions his wealth, his success, or his intelligence, he loses it. So we can probably expect more posts on Truth Social, maybe even another desperate attempt to prove his net worth. Maybe he'll whip out another one of those sketchy financial statements, where he magically becomes richer than Jeff Bezos overnight. And then there's Cuban. Will he keep going? Will he drop more receipts? That is the real question. Cuban has a habit of speaking his mind, and if he's already started, he might not stop. He could easily expose more details about Trump's failed businesses, tax issues, or even his leadership failures. And let's be real, Cuban knows how to get under Trump's skin. If he wants to, he could drag this out for weeks. But here's an even bigger question. Could this feud push Cuban further into the political conversation? Let's not forget that Cuban has flirted with the idea of getting into politics before. He's never officially run for office, but he's been outspoken about political issues, business policies, and even potential presidential candidates. If this whole situation puts him in the national spotlight, who knows? Maybe we'll see more of him in future elections. Would he ever actually run against Trump? Probably not. But he could influence the political landscape just by speaking out. And finally, is this just a preview of the chaos leading up to the 2028 election? Because, let's face it, politics have become wild. Social media feuds, viral moments, and unexpected scandals are basically the norm now. If Cuban versus Trump is any indication, the next few years are going to be messy. We could see more billionaires, celebrities, and business leaders jumping into political conversations, calling out candidates, and making headlines. One thing's for sure, this feud isn't over. Trump doesn't forget grudges, and Cuban doesn't back down from a challenge. So whether it's more tweets, more memes, or even another epic takedown, we will be hearing about this again. And when we do, you know the internet will be ready. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.